Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. It means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. I hope that work week's in the rearview mirror. If not, we'll get you to the finish line here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, and plenty to get to over the course of 2 hours. Preston guys here in 15 minutes. He was out there at LSU's football practice last night. We'll talk Tigers with Preston. Got a lot to talk about in terms of recruiting later on in this show. DJ Pickett's got a new number, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Some Kellen Moore discussion on Tyler Shuck and his spot in the Saints running game. So lots to get to over the course of the next 2 hours. Hope you will be with us for as much of it as you can. We start in Canton, Ohio. It's our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
I hope a lot of Saints fans take some time this weekend to pay attention to what's going on at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Drew Brees will be enshrined, deservedly so, this weekend, and that's a really, really cool thing for the Saints. He's the greatest player in the history of that organization and deserves everything that he gets this weekend. And it got me to thinking about Drew Brees' time in New Orleans. It got me to thinking about his career. And every time someone goes into the Hall of Fame, obviously, that's an extremely accomplished athlete. There's no question about that with Drew Brees. I purposely didn't even go back and look at the stats for this segment. I don't know where he ranks all time in passing yards. I think he's second. I don't know where he ranks in passing touchdowns. I don't know about games with a consecutive touchdown pass. Drew Brees is one of the 5 to 10 greatest quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League, and I don't need any statistics to back that up. I watched it. So did you. But it's more than that with Drew Brees. And it's why back last year, as Tyler Shuck was ascending to becoming the franchise quarterback in New Orleans, I did a segment on him not becoming the next Drew Brees. There is no next Drew Brees. Because Drew Brees' story in New Orleans goes beyond the football field. And that is what I think of when I think of Drew Brees. There's a very, very distinct line in my life that is very easy for me personally to separate the pre-Drew Brees and post-Drew Brees New Orleans Saints. I was a senior in high school when Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast. And up until that point in my life, the Saints had been atrocious. They had one blip on the radar with Aaron Brooks and Oz Hakeem dropping a punt, but they were awful my entire life. And then I went to college and I moved from North Louisiana to South Louisiana. And the second year I was in South Louisiana, Drew Brees became the quarterback of the Saints. And after that, for 15 years, the Saints were good, if not the best team in the NFL. I think at 3 different points, they may have been the best team in the NFL. But Katrina is that line, and it is an impossible aspect of the Drew Brees story to ignore. Because there have been dozens, hundreds of all-time football players that are enshrined in Canton. There is not one who meant more to a city at a certain point in time than Drew Brees. There's just not. I tried to go back in sports to think about, in my lifetime, a community in such desperate need of healing and bringing back together, and what sports could do for that. And I thought about 9/11 in New York City and the New York Yankees making the World Series that year. Now, they lost, but they had 2 unbelievable comeback wins off Byung-Hyun Kim with Derek Jeter homers and Scott Brosius homers. And New York was hurting at that time, and it was just over a month old. And the Yankees just, in sport, rallied that community unbelievably. Of course, the George Bush first pitch is a part of that story as well. I think about the Boston Red Sox after the Boston Marathon bombing in 2013. It was in April, and the Red Sox won the World Series that year. And remember, the Boston Red Sox came out after that happened, and instead of wearing Boston instead of Red Sox on the front of the jersey, it said Boston, and David Ortiz grabbed the mic and said, "This is our bleeping city," and rallied the city, and they went on to win the World Series. I think about Virginia Tech coming out of the tunnel after that horrible tragedy on its campus and that football stadium being united and galvanized. And sports doesn't fix tragedy, but it does help us in the aftermath, right? And so many of you that are listening to me right now were impacted by Hurricane Katrina, some far more than others. And Drew Brees did not have to sign with New Orleans Saints. And you know the story by now of the visit he took with Sean Payton, and they got lost in an area that hadn't recovered, and they weren't really supposed to be there, and they were trying to protect Drew Brees from that. And all of a sudden, that actually became what inspired Drew Brees to sign with New Orleans. And then you saw what happened in the aftermath and what that did for that city. I think a lot of people moved on from the Hurricane Katrina storyline once the news stations packed up and left. You'd seen the pictures, heard some stories, horrible flooding, awful situation, and then whatever happens next in the news cycle happens and they leave. But those of us down here in South Louisiana, we still felt it. And the Saints were a galvanizing part for a hurting city. And Drew Brees was the heartbeat of that. And the fact that he brought them to the highest heights in the National Football League to win the Super Bowl just 3 years after that is just remarkable. And it's part of the Drew Brees story. He's not just one of the greatest passers in the history of the National Football League. He's the greatest athlete in the history and the most impactful athlete in the history of Louisiana sports. That's a heavy thing, but it's true. And over the course of time, the Saints will have more Pro Bowl quarterbacks. They'll win another Super Bowl at some point. They may have another quarterback in the next 40 years going to the Hall of Fame. But it's not going to be the next Drew Brees. And there are tons of passers in the Hall of Fame who didn't have the impact on a community that Drew Brees did. And that is a really, really, really cool thing. It comes out of a horrible thing. But the story that blossoms on the other side is truly great. Y'all know I'm not a diehard Saints fan, but I did watch Drew Brees' entire career in New Orleans. I had an opportunity many times to go to the Superdome and watch him play, and it was an absolute delight to watch him surgically dice up opposing NFL defenses. That's just half the story. I think it's so cool that his tie to such a great city is that deep because of the journey those two went on right after the hurricane came through town. So for this weekend, yeah, it's about throwing for a bajillion yards, and it's about throwing for all those scores, and it's about the record books, and it's about all the wins, and it's about hoisting the Lombardi Trophy for the first time in the history of franchises, where I'm confident there are a bunch of y'all listening to me right now that thought that may never happen. And it did with him behind center. It's about all that, but it's also about New Orleans. It's about the Saints and what the Saints mean to that city, what Drew Brees meant to the Saints and therefore the city. It's a story that you would struggle to put in a Hollywood script. I think that the Saints probably should have won at least one more Super Bowl. I think if the officials blow the whistle against the Rams that day in the Dome, the Saints go on and win. I do. And I think that they had the best team on multiple occasions. But they did get there once. And it's a great reminder how hard that is and how, when it does happen, you can't take it for granted. You have to celebrate it because you never know when it's going to come around again. You never know when another Hall of Fame passer is going to come through New Orleans again, but it won't be Drew Brees. There's one Drew Brees. It's singular, and this is his weekend to be honored with the greatest in the history of the game. He's the greatest in the history of the city and the state, and this is his weekend up in Canton, Ohio. Well-deserved and such a cool moment for Saints fans. I certainly, again, as I open with, hope that Saints fans do take some time over the course of this weekend to either watch it live or make sure you catch up on the highlights, listen to the speech, listen to Sean Payton introduce him, and remember what's an awesome era it was. Hopefully, we're on the precipice of another great one. That's the hope. But you do know with certainty that you witnessed a golden age, the golden age of the black and gold, and Drew Brees was central in that. such a very, very, very cool moment for Saints fans who haven't seen a lot of Hall of Famers come through those doors. They're all up in Canton right now. Ricky Jackson's there, Morton Anderson is there, Willie Roaf is there, and Drew Brees will grab that gold jacket this weekend, and he will join them in Canton. Awesome weekend for Saints fans, and just wanted to start with that today on this Friday. It is Drew Brees' weekend. Jordan, you lived through it all. I don't think you know anything pre-Brees, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I don't.
What does it mean? I know that you can't. I can't. It's not the same because I don't live in Chicago, and my parents weren't Cubs fans. I grew into that as an 8-year-old, but I didn't have the 40 years of suffering that so many did before the Cubs won in 2016. You didn't have the Aints, the Bagheads.
No,
you didn't
not
have
at
any
all.
of that. But you did live through a golden era. What does this weekend mean to you as Brees goes into Canton?
It means a lot just because the resilience in Drew and because he had setbacks along the way. And also mixed into those good years, there were a lot of bad years, a lot of 7 and 9
2
years.
7 and 9s back to back. They had to clean house and get it fixed.
Yeah, there's years like that into the mix. So he could have axed out. He could have did that, but no, he stayed put. But honestly, like you said, I grew up in the golden era. I was in the 3rd grade when the Saints won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We all got a day off of school. Yeah, I remember that. We all showed up. Day off school. But anyways, it's just he kind of warped my reality of what quarterback play is. So I kind of, as I've gotten older, and I've seen the Trevor Simeons and the Jameis Winston, even though Jameis had his time, but I've seen
Ian
all
Book,
these.
baby.
Yeah,
Ian Book back there.
I didn't
Dave
see.
Myers was born. December 27, 2021 was Ian Book's only start. I'll remember it forever.
The Dolphins game, right?
Yes.
Yep, exactly.
I was in the hospital. Myers was born at 5 in the morning. We watched. I said, buddy,
I don't know why you watched that
this
one.
is not
Yeah.
what it usually looks like, all right? I know your eyes don't work yet, but
Exactly.
this is no good.
So seeing that, and then getting to the point where now we have a Tyler Shuck, and maybe we have hope again of having a good quarterback. That's why I'm like, you know what, Drew? You have ruined my idea of football because as a kid, I'm expecting to have, we got 2 minutes left in the game. We can get down the field real quick and Drew can tie the game up or take the lead. Maybe the defense will get the score up, but it's like, I appreciate Drew Brees, but man, you lied to all these kids watching Saints football. This is what it is, and this is what it's always going to be. It's not. It has not been.
There's a lot of high schoolers in Kansas City, Missouri right now.
That think Mahomes,
it's always like this. I promise it's not.
It's not.
I promise it's not. You can have Elvis Gerback back there. All right, that's just. Are you gonna watch the Hall of Fame this weekend?
I'm going to watch Drew get inducted, and
Yeah.
I like Larry Fitzgerald. I'm a Larry Fitzgerald guy, but I didn't watch the Hall of Fame game. Come on, man. I like football. I don't like
didn't
it
know
that
it was
much.
last night.
Yeah,
No idea.
I don't like football that much.
I saw enough. Hey, look, Carson Beck got me the one win I needed.
Hey,
he beat Ole
right.
Miss.
But remember I
didn't need to
told
win
you?
the Hall of Fame game.
Hey, remember I told you? I was like, look, Carson Beck, you knocked Ole Miss out the tournament. I will never talk bad about you a day in my life. So shout out Carson Beck, man.
Jimmy lost some money on the Hall of Fame game last night. We hate to hear. He thought he had it handicapped.
Hey, he came on today and was hot about that. I ain't gonna lie. He was hot. He was like, Musso ran me off the clock. I swear I said first quarter.
Let's talk about LSU's practice last night. We'll do that with Preston Guy next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com is the website. Don't worry about the website. Go to the place. It's on Segan at Perkins. It's the weekend. Knock off of work today. Go play some golf indoors at Swing Easy. You can go tonight, 8 o'clock p.m. It's dark outside. Who cares? Pebble Beach is all lit up on the simulator for you. Bring some friends, have some drinks, play some tunes, watch some TV, and play golf at Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. You want to work on your game this weekend but don't have enough time, don't know where to go to hit balls? You can do it at Swing Easy. 30 minutes, pop into the bay, hit some golf balls, and get about your day. It's a great place to go hang out. Segan at Perkins, Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. Online, swingeasygcbr.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday show is always brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Not too late to get on by for a late lunch. Want a shrimp po' boy? Not a better one in town than the one over at Corks Jumbo Gulf Shrimp. Get crispy fried catfish as well as shoestring fries, honey butter rolls. Check out that menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com with us on Fridays talking Tiger football. And we have finally made it through the offseason. LSU on the practice field. Saw Preston out there last night. How we doing, sir?
All right, how's it going? Hopefully we didn't mess up our flow having to do a night practice for the first time in a long time.
My first one ever. I started going out there in 2010. I don't think I've been to a 6:30 p.m. practice,
Well,
but it was nice.
Scrimmages scrimmages at
Yes.
the nighttime sometimes.
In Tiger
The
Stadium.
infamous
Yeah.
Garrett Nussmeier is missing nighttime scrimmage.
Yeah, it is what it is. How did you best maximize your 12 minutes out there?
You think it was a full 12? I don't know. It felt more like 11. I went straight to the quarterback.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be the biggest impact on this team is how does Sam Levitt look? And he looked good. Also looked at the DBs and running backs a good bit. That's what I was kind of filming, kind of where I had the best vantage point. But I did make sure to peek over to those defensive linemen, and I saw a couple freshmen rotating in with the ones. That was an interesting sign there.
Let's start with the quarterbacks. We'll get to the defense here. What's your impression of Sam Levitt out there? We all understand, everyone knows that the media's not seeing much and they don't have pads on yet, but what's your initial thought?
He looks healthy. That's definitely the biggest takeaway here. He's not trotting around gingerly. I mean, it does look a lot different from the spring drills where he was very, soft on that foot, right? However, I don't know that necessarily we've got the full look of it until he actually lines it up with 11, takes a shotgun snap, and reads the whole field, right? Now, I mean, he's throwing it accurately, right? He's got a big, not colossal, but big arm, and he's clearly very mobile and athletic. We'll see, I'm also more interested to see, how he works with the system, right? They did have them doing some kind of sideline toe dragging drills, right, where basically the receiver's about 35 yards out running full speed and trying to get these guys to fit it in right on the hash. So we got to look at some interesting throws there. But for the most part, they seemed like they were doing a pretty good job putting it right in the bucket there.
Feels like Jace Brown is working with Levitt more often than the other wide receivers. Do you read anything into that through 2 days?
I mean, he's a veteran guy. I think that Jace Brown's going to have a very gadget-type role in this offense based on what we saw in spring where they're doing, jet sweeps and outside bubble screens and stuff with him, right? I wouldn't read too much into him working with Levitt a lot. I mean, I think the receiving room is very much so, there's a lot of different type positions that are up for grabs. And I definitely think Jace Brown is someone who's locked in to be a contributor into this offense, whether he's wide receiver 1 or 2 or 3. I would not immediately start reading too much into that right now.
Do you think that Lane Kiffin, Charlie Weiss Jr., George McDonald want to narrow that down to about 4 guys, or do you think they want to play a lot of players?
Yeah, I think if I remember right, that their Ole Miss system, basically their top 5 guys are the guys who are catching the majority of the balls, right? But I think you have to account for Trey'Dez Green is effectively going to be one of those guys. I mean, he will be lining up wide. They're not just going to use him purely, lining up 1 foot to the right of the tackle, all season, right? He will be doing some wide out stuff. So effectively, yeah, they're probably looking to identify their 4 true wide receivers plus another guy that gets used in a gadget type role. That's what I was just mentioning with Jace Brown, where they do like to use receivers who can do things outside to basically kind of help supplement the run game. You know what I mean? Little, dink and dunk, easy yardage type things that remain unpredictable, but you can still rely on for consistent short yardage. Basically, kind of in short yardage situations, forces the defense to spread out instead of stacking the box, right? So if Jace Brown is that guy, then there's a good chance that he's both. He's your gadget guy, and he's in your top 4 in the lineup there.
Preston Guy's our guest. He's with TigerBait.com. Let's switch over to the defense. You mentioned a pair of freshman defensive tackles. What say you? Yeah,
that's interesting. Richard Anderson and Deuce Gerald's taking some 1 reps yesterday. We'll see if that holds up. And look, of positions where you rotate players, that is the rotatable position, right? The defensive line, right? So I would be a little surprised to see 2 true freshman defensive tackles rolling out there, particularly this is a position that's not dominated by young players. Typically, it's a position where it's a lot of weight room that goes into it, right? And there's just no faking the ability to squat 650 pounds. Like, you just need time to build your body up, and there's just not no matter how highly recruited you are, no matter what your frame is, there's just not a lot of 18-year-old kids who can come in and do that. Just point, flat out blank, right? So to see that from two true freshmen beat out, especially they have veteran bodies. Dominic McKinley, they've got Kylan Green, Malik Blockton. That would be surprising to me. However, that's what's trending out there. That's what we're seeing. And regardless of if they're first or second on the field, I think that we're going to see a combination of both veteran and freshman guys having a huge impact on this defensive line this year.
What about the Jace Thomas situation at safety? TaMarcus Cooley running with the twos in those pursuit drills.
I'm not gonna, look too much into that. Obviously, Jace Thomas, an impressive kid, but I mean, TaMarcus Cooley, we saw what he did a year ago. I'm gonna wait and see. Let's see how when they do 11 versus 11, if we get a good look at those scrimmages like that, how that pans out. I'm not gonna freak out too much on that right now.
Preston, guys, our guys, he's at TigerBait.com. You're hanging out with my guy Chris Marler these days. Tell us about it.
Yeah, no, I'm happy he was able to fill in. We had to get a new co-host this year due to some contractual obligations. Chris Marler and I did our first show of the season Monday night at 8 p.m., and he'll be there every Monday night at 8 p.m. now through the end of January. So y'all make sure to come check us out on the Tiger Bait YouTube channel. It was a good time. Really like what Chris brings to the show. Real fun, entertaining, smooth talker. So y'all make sure to come check us out.
Give me one thing that you're looking for over the next week or so in limited time that we get to go check it out.
Oh, man, limited time. Well, definitely looking forward to getting back out to practice Saturday. More looks at the team. I'm hoping Saturdays will give us a deeper look, but it looks like sessions 2, 3, 4 again. I'm also working on a column right now about the breakdown of Louisiana talent on this team. But looking at it, 37.5% of this roster is from the state of Louisiana. That's actually the lowest that this team has ever had this century by 11%, meaning the next lowest was about 48%. So I'm doing a deep data dive to see what the correlation is between having Louisiana talent and winning. And it exists. There definitely is a correlation between bringing Louisiana players on the roster and winning football games at LSU.
We shall see. We'll be looking forward. Preston, have a great weekend. We'll see you out there at practice.
Talk to you soon.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com with us on Fridays. Gotros Outdoor Power. Gotros Outdoor Power. Awesome deals over there at Gotros Outdoor Power all August long. Be sure to go check it out. 2 locations, one on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge and, of course, one in Gonzales. I was telling y'all earlier, spoke with my guy Gant Gotro, and they're thrilled with their August sales. It's a summer clearance sale, up to $1,000 off select Gravely, Skag, and Hustler zero-turn mowers, and 0% financing available as well. Again, $1,000 off select Gravely, Skag, and Hustler zero-turn mowers, and 0% financing available as well. National Hustler Dealer of the Year 2 of the last 3 years. In business for 22 years, largest Hustler inventory in the state of Louisiana. So if you need a zero-turn mower, you look no further than Gotros Outdoor Power online at gotrosonline.com. That's gotrosonline.com. I think that's interesting that Preston was talking about. It's something that we mentioned in the summer about Louisiana guys. Because when you look at this team, like I'll just run through the lineup right now that we think is going to be on the offense. Jordan Seaton, not from Louisiana. Bo Bordelon is. That's one. But no, you're not looking at Braylon Moore from Louisiana. Alu Ba's not from Louisiana. Weston Davidson from Louisiana. Sam Levitt's not from Louisiana. Caden Durham's not from Louisiana. And Harlan Berry is, but Trey Green is. In the wide receiver core, unless you use Phillip Wright, like you're not from Louisiana. That's like 3 guys. 3 guys on offense. Defensively, you run through like not Prince Will, not Deuce Gerald's, like Richard Anderson is, and Dominic McKinley is, but not Jordan Ross, not Whit Weeks, not Devon Keys, not TJ Dottery, not Ty Benefield, not TaMarcus Cooley, not DJ Pickett. Look out on the other corner, not PJ Woodland, like Deshaun Spears. So like 6 impact guys, 6 or 7. Like that's the new world. And we made a big deal out of Lane Kiffin coming here because he could get the Louisiana high school kids. And the question is, how much are you going to use them? Now, this is a different year than most years because your roster got gutted. Like you just lost everybody off this roster because you had a coaching change. So you had to go to the portal and get 40 kids. Well, you can't take 40 Louisiana high schoolers. That's not a thing you can do. You can take 9. You can take 11 is kind of what you want. You can't take 40. So this is a little bit different. And I do think that there is something to Louisiana kids perhaps sticking around a little bit longer. Sure, there are going to be Lance Hurds that jump in and jump out. There are going to be guys that come in for a couple of years like Caleb Jackson and move on. But the question becomes, like, how much is Lane Kiffin going to lean on Louisiana high schoolers? And it remains to be seen. I do think you've got a great chance to get really high-profile players from Louisiana to come to LSU. I think you got a chance to get Easton Royal this year. And you need, as I've said many, many times, you need Will Campbell. You need Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. You need those guys. You need Derek Stingley here for 3 years. Y'all know the names, and LSU's had them forever and ever and ever, but it's now so easy to go outside the state to go get guys who will come here for, yes, the brand, yes, the history, yes, the coaching staff, yes, the stadium, yes, facilities, yes, all that, but also the money that you have. It's fascinating because forever and ever, we've said LSU has got to be run through the state of Louisiana. Well, that is not the case in men's basketball under any circumstance. Jay Johnson is probably not going to have a Louisiana-born starting player next year on his position group. Probably not. Like Aaron Beatty's not, Cerna's not, Braun's not, Go Across, Dawson Park's not, Milam's not. You're not going to, Cade Curlin's not. You got Laya. You got, you don't have a Louisiana guy in your lineup unless John Pearson cracks in there. William Schmidt's from Louisiana, but Kason Evans isn't. Neither is Cooper Moore. Neither is, you get the point. This is a national search based on salary cap retention as opposed to making sure you get your Louisiana guys in. And look, the team he won with in 2023, first year of the transfer portal basically, had Cade Beloso and Gavin Dugas on the team. Cade Anderson was huge a couple of years ago, no question. Jake Brown, got to have him. But you don't lean on it as much, and Lane Kiffin might not. We'll see. It's something I'll be absolutely monitoring. I think it's fascinating. So we'll keep that moving in the right direction. All right, I want to talk about something I saw last night at football practice, and it's a concern of mine. We'll do that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, online at fabrychevrolet.com, fabrychevrolet.com. Go check them out. Incredible deals on trucks all month long. It's early in the month, but just get by early in the month and maximize these fantastic deals. Talking about 2026 Chevy Silverado 1500s, 0% APR financing for 5 years plus no monthly payments for 90 days. 3 months, no payments on 2026 Chevy Silverados. Plus, on the GMC side with Sierra 1500s, 2.9 APR for 72 months, plus an additional $1,500 in allowance. That's now until August 31st. So if you want a new truck, that's the stop. Go to the website, fabrychevrolet.com, and check out what they've got, but also go by and see them. Experience that wonderful customer service that you get when you deal with the Fabry family. If you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, they've got pre-owned vehicles that will fit any budget. Highway 61 in St. Francisville, online at fabrychevrolet.com, fabrychevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
The Highland Insurance Group brings you the Hunt Palmer Show every single day. HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carbo and his team, they're just first class when it comes to the insurance game. I've enjoyed my conversations with Jonathan and his team on the property and casualty side. They're great, and they'll make sure that your policy and your insurance program is worded properly, is put together properly. I think a lot of business owners still just make sure that bottom line makes sense, and that's the page they emphasize the most, which makes sense. That is the dollars and cents attached to it. And not every business owner is familiar with the entirety of the insurance program, but the Highland Insurance Group will make sure that for that good money you're spending commercially for your insurance, that you've got the right coverages. And in South Louisiana, a lot of times that means the right property coverage. In hurricane season, do you have the right building valuation? Do you have the proper deductible for your risk appetite? Do you think you might incur some co-insurance penalties because you're improperly insured? Is your business interruption limit correct if you can't work because a storm blows through and damages your building so it can't be occupied? All these are important questions, and the last thing you want to do is spend money up front for a premium and then on the back end not be covered because you cut some corners to save money on the front end. That's what the Highland Insurance Group will prevent. They'll come in and make sure your program is in good shape. Jonathan Carbo and the Highland Insurance Group, they're online at highlandig.com. All right, out at LSU football practice yesterday, and y'all know, but I feel like I have to do the precursor every single time. They're not in pads, and we're watching 12 minutes. So I am not here to tell you about their ability to win the national championship or they're going 6-6. Like, that's not what we're here to do at this point in the calendar, right? But I am paying attention. I am covering the team, and I am taking notes and determining what I want to talk about, what I want to write about. And yesterday when we went out there, the defense did a pursuit drill to get loose. You get into your defensive set. They snap the ball. Everybody drops to their belly, pops up, and runs. It's just to get the blood moving. There's not any technical aspect to it whatsoever. So this is not to suggest that they are putting their best foot forward, their Clemson foot forward with the lineup every time through. I told you I wasn't going to overreact to Marcus Cooley running with the twos, not going to overreact to Dominic McKinley working with the threes. I'm not going to do that on the 3rd day of August when you're out there doing a warm-up drill. But when they go out there, the first unit does have Whit Weeks. It does have TJ Daugherty. It does have Ty Benefield. It does have DJ Pickett. It does have PJ Woodland. It has Prince William Mielon. In the first unit, there are a lot of guys out there that I fully expect to start the game against Clemson and to be huge factors on this defense. That is a fact. And I look at the defensive tackles. In the first day, it was Deuce Geralds and Malik Blockton. You got the freshman from Georgia, and you got the transfer from Auburn. And when we went out there in the spring, Blockton, McKinley, Green, Geralds, they all kind of took reps with the ones over time. And we saw more reps in the spring than we are in the fall. But last night we went out there, and Deuce Geralds and Richard Anderson were the first group. They were with Umon Mielon and Ross and Weeks and Daugherty and Pickett and Cooley and Spears. Not Cooley, sorry, and Spears and Benefield and Jace Thomas. They were out there first. And while the optimist would look at that and say, they hit on these freshmen defensive linemen, y'all. They're already pushing to the front of the line. They were 5-star recruits. They were Under Armour All-Americans. They were top 100 players. They were top 30 players. They made their mark in the spring. These guys are going to be awesome. That's what the optimist would say. The pessimist would go, you're putting 2 freshmen out there at defensive tackle? You sure about that? What about the older guys? Blockton's a 3rd-year player. Green's a 4th-year player. McKinley's a 3rd-year player. What about those guys? And then there's me, and here's my reaction to it. I think that should Deuce Geralds, Richard Anderson, Lamar Brown become what we think they're going to become, that will be a foundation for a dominant LSU defense that looks like the guys in 03 with Lavallee and Williams, and looks like the guys in 07 with Dorsey. Looks like the guy in 11 with Brockers and Logan. There's NFL guys on the interior that can wreck games, stop the run, affect the passer, and become problems in the middle of an offensive line to collapse an offense. Those guys could be the foundation of that moving forward. I say that, and at the same time, I go, I don't want 2 freshmen starting at defensive tackle. I'm sorry. I know that freshmen are more prepared than ever to play now because of what we know about nutrition, what we know about weight training. High schoolers take that very seriously. They enroll in college 6 months, 7 months before they used to. They're now here at the first of the year instead of showing up in July. They're more ready than they've ever been. I don't want freshmen, 2 of them, on the defensive interior. And it tells me that those guys, McKinley, Blockton, Green, it tells me they are not at the level of Whit Weeks and TJ Daugherty and DJ Pickett and PJ Woodland and Ty Benefield. They're not, because they're not out there every single day with the ones like those guys are. Again, this is a pursuit drill to warm up. I am not trying to sound a 4-alarm disaster. I'm not. But I'm paying attention and I'm going, I know McKinley hasn't done a lot at LSU. I know that Malik Blockton was like, okay, nice player at Auburn. I know that Phylon Green was like, okay, a nice player at Clemson. And maybe those guys are good players and these 2 freshmen are just sensations. Maybe that's true. That will be awesome. If those 2 guys blow up Clemson's offensive line for 3 quarters at the end of the month, like, that'll be literally what I write about in the postgame column. It'll be the first thing I talk about on Monday's show. If these guys look like game changers as freshmen that just completely buck the trend of guys having to mature into playing in the trenches in the Southeastern Conference, awesome. I am all for that. But I'm going to tell you right now that I have some concerns that they're putting 2 freshmen out there with the group that includes all those solidified starters. That to me doesn't say, damn, look at these 5 stars. It says, these older guys are not taking the bull by the horns. Like, that's just the way it makes me feel initially. That doesn't make me right. I'm telling you what I feel. I've seen freshmen go out there and play in the SEC. Christian Lockett had to do it. He had to go out there and play. They were light on numbers. He gave it everything he had. Was he an all-conference player? No. But you just don't see a lot of true freshmen out there bashing into 330-pound, 23-year-old guards and having consistent success. Now, I'll tell you this. Deuce Gerald's is lightning quick and plays with great leverage and fundamentals. His dad's a football lifer. He grew up in a football household. Like, he's got a great pedigree. And Richard Anderson, if you go out there to practice, if you just go out there, you would not know he was a freshman based on looking at him. He is a house of a human. He's enormous. He's tall. He's wide. He's huge. And he might be the strongest defensive lineman LSU's got on the team. And that doesn't, discriminate based on age. It's not 18, 19, 23, whatever. It just, there are so many things out there that I'm optimistic about. When I see 2 freshmen running with the perceived first team at defensive tackle, I go, all right. Like, Will Campbell did it. Will Campbell just played left tackle as a freshman, and he played pretty damn well in 2022. He did a pretty good job. Wasn't great. He wasn't what he was as a sophomore and junior. He did a pretty good job. It can be done, and these guys are high-level recruits. I'm just telling you, is that with that as the DNA, it is by far my biggest question mark on this LSU defense. I think your corners are exceptional. I think Benefield's going to be an All-American. I think Weeks is great. I think Daugherty's going to make a lot of tackles. I'm good with Keys. I think Deshaun Spears grows into a great role this year and is going to be an NFL player. Uman Mielen is going to be a 9-10 sack guy. Jordan Ross, we'll see. He's a great talent. Like, I feel really good about so much of the defense, including Blake Baker. 2 freshmen at defensive tackle, I have a hard time convincing myself to be optimistic about that. We'll see if it's the case. And we'll see if they continue as we go out there, because we'll see those guys run that drill more often than not. And if we go out there tomorrow morning and Dom McKinley and Phylon Green are the first 2 guys, I'll go, okay, they're just running guys in and out. It's fine. But I'm covering the team day to day here. I'm reacting to the practice I see. I'm not overreacting. I told you that we know what the calendar is, and I know what this drill is. They're getting loose. But my antenna are up on 2 freshmen playing the defensive tackle spot. We'll see. When we come back, the Saints have made a local edition. Got some LSU and New Orleans ties. We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
It's back to school time, and our friends at Ochsner want to remind you about a number of things. Look, there are Ochsner Health Centers that offer primary care and pediatric services in the same location, so that makes it easier for families to coordinate care for everybody in the household. If you're looking for same-day appointments, they're available at a lot of locations and can help families address unexpected health concerns quickly as kids return to school. We know that can lead to some sicknesses as well, and look, they're out there playing in recess. It can lead to some injuries too. Ochsner's got availability for you. They've got extended afternoon hours after school, as well as weekend appointment options at select locations that can give you some flexibility for busy families that are balancing school, work, extracurricular activities, all of that. Of course, football is one of those. Convenient access to primary and pediatric care can help families stay on top of annual wellness visits. So if you want more tips in helping your family start the school year healthy, safe, and ready to succeed, got one place to go. That's Ochsner.org/BR. That's Ochsner.org/BR.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here. Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Got a catering event coming up. Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Think about them, those high school football games that are coming up. If you want to feed a tailgate for those high school football games, they can help you out with that. Big craze of crispy fried catfish, jumbo Gulf shrimp. Get the hush puppies, honey butter rolled. They got you all covered there at Corks between Foster and Jefferson on Government Street. It's Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. The Saints made a move today, reading up on Adam Schefter's Twitter. Who Dats are bringing one home. Deion Jones, former Jesuit Blue Jay, LSU Tiger, is signing with his 4th NFC South team. Of course, Falcons selected Deion Jones back in the 2016 draft, and he burst onto the scene in Atlanta. He was 3rd in the AP Defensive Rookie of the Year, had a couple of interceptions as a rookie, and made 108 tackles. In the next year, 138 tackles for Atlanta, made the Pro Bowl as a second-year player in 2017, and he has been in the league for 10 years now. What a story for this guy. If you're an LSU fan, you are well aware that he was basically the last player into his signing class from Jesuit. It's one of those deals. It was very much like Justin Jefferson, very much like Duke Riley. These guys who were kind of under-recruited, kind of undervalued. LSU was making sure they didn't go over the 25 limit, and once they realized up until signing day that they had an extra spot or two, they took some Louisiana guys who were a little bit under the radar. And they were hitting at an unbelievable rate on those guys. Russell Gage is another one who came from Redemptorist. But Deion Jones was one of those from Jesuit. And he came into LSU, and he waited his time, and then became just an incredible linebacker, great speed, and really, really productive, and played his way into an NFL draft pick with the Falcons. He was the 200. Oh, that's a typo over there on Pro Football Reference. But he was the draft pick of the Falcons and became a really good player. He played in Atlanta for 6 years with the Atlanta Falcons, incredibly durable over that time. Then he signed with Cleveland, played there for a year. Then he signed with Carolina as a 29-year-old in 2023, played 13 games for the Panthers. In the last 2 years, he has spent with Tampa. In 2024, he missed almost the entire season, only played 2 games. But last year in Tampa, as a depth piece, a rotational piece, he played 17 games for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So every game, made 29 tackles on the year, had 13 assists and 16 solo tackles for a total of 29. He's 32 years old, been in the league for 10 years. And this doesn't appear to me to be a signing to plug and play as an every down starter. Obviously, the Saints have Pete Werner. They've got Caden Ellis, and there are some other guys. Danny Stutzman, they want to get in. Isaiah Stallberg's had some good Augusts in his time and some good preseason performances in his time. He's played a little bit in the regular season. But to bring in a 10-year vet at a position where you lose Demario Davis and you may want to bring some young guys along, having Deion Jones come back home is a good thing. You know, the Saints have kind of made a little bit of a habit of this. They obviously did so with Jarvis Landry, bringing him home for the end of his career. They did so with Tyrann Mathieu, brought him home for the end of his career. And this will very likely be the end of Deion Jones' career as well. Perhaps he helps a little bit on special teams. Perhaps he helps a little bit on defense. Perhaps he doesn't make the team. But you bring in Deion Jones at a spot where you don't have abundant depth. You have enough. It's not like a concern, but this is a low-cost signing, a low-risk signing, a vet who probably wants to be home. And you bring it full circle with the Falcons for 6 years, with Carolina for 1, Tampa for 2. Just make the whole trip around the NFC South, ending at home in New Orleans. So, again, played 17 games last year for Tampa, but wasn't a huge contributor. They bring him in now to play with New Orleans, and I would anticipate that he adds some depth and a veteran leader at a group that needs a little bit of veteran leadership. Werner has been around a little bit, and obviously you've seen Caden Ellis been around the block or time or two. But if he can help with Danny Stutzman's development, I love that opportunity for Deion Jones as well, and love the opportunity for him to come home. A Jesuit Blue Jay and LSU Tiger, now a New Orleans Saint. Deion Jones signs on as a 32-year linebacker for the black and gold. Jordan, what do we think about that?
Well, as a Holy Cross man, I'm going to tread a little lightly on a Jesuit Blue Jay. But, I'm going to shout out a guy from New Orleans. So it's good to see, getting that type of farewell ending, fairy tale ending, full circle at your at your hometown. So I appreciate that, what Mickey's doing. But it's kind of weird, though. It's kind of weird. My antennas are up. I know he's a, depth piece, but a linebacker, I don't really think was that thin at linebacker, or, the Saints were looking for a new linebacker. So maybe something we don't know about, something, it
You hope
plays
it's
out.
not an injury. Nobody talked about an injury yesterday, and I
Exactly.
haven't heard a lot of that. So you hope it's not. But again, this is very low risk. If it's just a depth piece to add on,
Yeah. And he's
there's
from the city.
Yeah, and maybe he took a discount to come to New Orleans, and it was even more cheap. So like you don't know. But this is not one. Here's my point in August, because your point is well made. Like I hope nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
My point is, until they tell me something's wrong, I'm just gonna go. It's all good. And I just think that they're adding a veteran in who's, guys played 128 games in the NFL, made 91 starts.
Yeah, 10
bring
years.
Him in, bring him in to help with development. Bring him in as a camp body. And if you do have an injury, you've got somebody in there that knows how to play the game. I'm good with it.
Yeah, especially just because he's from New Orleans. I like that part about it. Let him end this story in his city.
Love that. LSU Tiger turned New Orleans Saint. All right, our Friday show is again brought to you by Corks. A lot to get to there in hour number one. Opened the show talking about Drew Brees. He'll be enshrined in Canton over the weekend. Saw some videos surfacing from Jeff Duncan, who's up there in Canton as Brees was doing the VIP walk, and he'll have his day, and it'll be a great day for New Orleans Saints fans. Check that out. I gave my thoughts on that at the top of the show. You can find all our Saints coverage at Hunt on Saints. Preston Guy was with us at 1:15 talking Tiger football. He was out at practice yesterday. He'll be out there again tomorrow. So if you want to catch that, you can at Hunt on LSU on YouTube, wherever you find your podcasts. It's football season now. If you feel like you want to get that football fix and you want to limit it to that, you don't want to scroll through all the shows to see when I'm talking about things, just go to our Saints specific channel, our LSU specific channel, and take them in digestible segments there. Also, gave you my thoughts on LSU starting a pair of potentially freshman defensive tackles. That was at 1:30 on the show today. Lots to get to in hour two. Kellen Moore talks Saints quarterback run game, Drew Brees, some quotes, and some more LSU talk after Sports Center. Come back with us. It's a Friday.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust, FABT.com. That's FABT.com. We talked about Deion Jones being from New Orleans and coming back home. Talked about Tyrann Mathieu from New Orleans coming back home. We talked about Drew Brees doing what he did for South Louisiana. First American Bank and Trust has been here for all that. Southeast Louisiana, true and true. 116 years in our part of the state. So no matter where you are, down the bayou, St. John, Lafourche, maybe up I-12, St. Tammany, Tangipahoa, if you're just outside Baton Rouge, if you're in Metairie, no matter where you are, there's a First American Bank and Trust near you. It's a community bank. It's got that community feel. When you pick up the phone and call First American Bank and Trust, you get someone in Southeast Louisiana. When you apply for a commercial loan or a personal loan, that decision is made in Southeast Louisiana. It's not in San Francisco. It's not in Chicago or Atlanta. It's right here. That's the community feel. But they have 25 locations, which means they've got the resources to help you. If you need a commercial loan, First American Bank and Trust. Check them out online. It's FABT.com, FABT.com.